Hi there, and welcome to the Systematiq Podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Avard. By way of introduction, I'm a senior ILS consultant here with Systematiq, having previously worked with the Department of Defence as both a public servant and an Army officer. The federal government, in July of 2020, announced that it would be spending $270 billion over the next 10 years to modernise and strengthen Australia's military capability. This funding was aimed at enhancing Australia's long-range strike capabilities, boosting cyber warfare, and establishing an underwater surveillance system, among a myriad of other capability upgrades. This announcement meant a potentially huge boom for the Australian defence industry, but left the question, how does the Australian defence industry get part of that $270 billion pie? Although the government indicated that there would be an overhaul of the ASDEFCON process, the entry for small to medium enterprises to break into the defence industry still remains a significant challenge. Joining me today from the Systematiq team to discuss this issue, we have Bryden Johnson with our business development team, Helen Barry with our pre-contracts team, Sarah Norton with our pre-contracts team, and Peter Weir, one of our project managers up in our Sydney office. Thanks for joining me today, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi, Jordan. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Jordan.
Bryden, I'll turn to you for the first question. What are the key elements in your experience, what are the key elements to submitting a successful ASDEFCON proposal to the Commonwealth?
Yeah, thanks, Jordan. As you know, bidding is one of my favourite topics. Also is really how to get organised early. One of the key things that I would suggest here is preparation. I think one of the biggest problems that we often see is organisations aren't prepared to come into the tender. And this starts as simply as, whilst it may sound simple, making the decision to bid early on and committing to getting organised before the tender hits the streets. One of the things I would also say is the Commonwealth's ASDEFCON template has really been a template that's been developed over the years, and the Commonwealth have made a lot of effort to try and make it public to organisations to understand that. So a big tip is to make sure you have a look at that prior to the tender coming out and understand what it is. What I'd also probably throw to is talking to Helen about some of the other things from her perspective about what has worked in some of the jobs that we've done. H?
Thanks, Bryden. I would say that preparation work's really important. Understanding the customer, understanding what they want when you go to deliver. So you're not just delivering a product, you're actually delivering a whole project that includes that product and everything that sits around it. You need to understand what keeps that customer awake at night. So in the user community, what's keeping them awake, what's their pain, what are their pain points, because that's a big part of what the bid needs to respond to. I think the other thing for me, I'm all about the team. So it's having a good team of people on board to make sure that the client and the people representing the client are contributing to the bid from the client side, are part of that team and a part of the whole bid process to make sure that the team is all heading in the same direction. That's a big part of what drives me in terms of leading bids too, is to support the team as we all come together for that. I would also say that you need to go with the ebb and flow of a bid. It doesn't develop and mature in a straight trajectory. So we do have to be prepared to be agile during the bid's development.
Well, I was going to say, Helen, you just touched on there about being agile. Are you able just to briefly elaborate on that? Because I want to link into with Sarah's experience, having done some previous bid work as well.
Often during a bid, as the solution matures, you find that the offering and the way that offering is developed and the way it's articulated through the bid needs to change as well. And you need to be able to embrace that process of change as the bid matures, so that what you're providing is the very best solution articulated in the best way that you can to the Commonwealth.
Right. So taking that point there, Helen, and I want to jump to you now, Sarah, about making sure that those SMEs who are bidding out there are having a compliant submission. In your experience, what makes the difference between a compliant submission and a winning submission?
Thanks, Jordan. And look, for a compliance submission, it's one that really just simply meets the requirements. It ticks the boxes, provides the evaluators what they've asked for. So it doesn't really go above and beyond. Whereas I would say a winning submission is one where you've got a very clear offer, there's a solid, robust and achievable technical solution. It's one that shows how you manage and mitigate risk to your business, the project and the government in these cases. The response is clearly tailored to the proposal and the audience. It's not just a cut and paste from previous ones. And the proposal documents are in line with each other and tell the same story, reflect the same themes. And then when we come to price as well, that it's competitive and substantiated. That would be the main points.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for that. So what I'm hearing here is that we need to make sure that we're tailoring our solutions to suit the proposal and it's not just simply a copy and paste. Pete, I want to turn to you for this question. In your experience working with other companies as part of the bid process, is there anything that these organisations underestimate during said bid process?
Yeah, thanks, Jordan. In my experience and a lot of the other bid managers that work with Systematiq, dealing with the suppliers, is they underestimate their level of effort internally to respond to the tender or the proposal. They think that their engineers or their people they've allocated to the bid can do business as usual, as well as work on the tender, which is quite comprehensive, especially within an ASDEFCON contracting template. It's very, very time-consuming and can be overwhelming to the team to achieve too many things at once. So it really needs to focus on the tender.
So what we're saying is that having a dedicated bid team that is sufficiently resourced is really the best method for success for these companies.
Correct. That's exactly right. And having someone like Systematiq to assist with the management or provide guidance on the tender allows the internal resources of the company to concentrate on their expertise with engineering, service and things like that. So they can focus on their sweet spot and leave the management side to the Systematiq guys.
Great, thank you very much for that. And Bryden, I want to just jump on something that you mentioned earlier at the start about the ASDEFCON process has obviously gone through evolutions throughout since the Commonwealth's been introducing it. From here, I want to ask you, how will the Australian enterprises or the Australian SMEs benefit from the Commonwealth's current review and simplification of the ASDEFCON process?
Certainly, Jordan, the review being done at the moment by the Commonwealth is aimed at simplifying the tendering process. What's not commonly understood is that the ASDEFCON template is actually reviewed in different response volumes. So if you're a technical inside the project office from the technical area, you won't see the pricing, vice versa, pricing people don't see technical. So the idea that the ASDEFCON template being reviewed will hopefully help simplify the means of responding to defence tenders. This way, the Commonwealth, what they're trying to do is make it easier for SMEs to enter into the market and make it easier for them to be able to step up and put a response into the Commonwealth. Having said that, the point that we made before, what it doesn't remove is the need for you to have a compelling argument or something that is still going to be bespoke for the customer. So certainly Sarah's point about understanding how to make your particular value proposition stand out from the competitors is very important, especially as you take away some of the structure of ASDEFCON. You need to be able to make sure that your bid can stand out. So what discriminates you and what makes you different. Certainly, I think that removal of process from the Commonwealth actually places greater emphasis then on companies to make sure you can write a compelling argument as to why your solution is important.
And it's a very interesting insight you've provided there. And I want to turn to you, Sarah, with regards to that. In your experience, having worked with the pre-contracts team, what are, or have there been any standout ASDEFCON proposals that you've worked on, and what has made them stand out?
Look, I would have to say they are all quite unique experience, because we're fortunate to work with many organisations across the land, sea, air domains, and in teams of mixed businesses too. But if I had to pick, I would probably say it was in the role of a bid manager for EOS Space Systems, responding to the RFP last year. This all occurred during the Melbourne lockdown, so it was done remotely, with our client operating business as usual in Canberra. And whilst the RFP was interesting in inviting innovative proposals from industry to fulfil a range of capabilities in the space domain, it was more the experience of working with a team that stood out for me. Like, EOS had a great solution, and I was fortunate to work with a very talented proposal team that comprised of people both from EOS and Systematiq. And I found that everybody went far beyond answering the mail. They were committed to producing the best result. They were passionate and dedicated throughout. And the team really came together right up until the final hours. And at the end, we were quite proud of the quality of the submission that we achieved.
It's really interesting to hear an insight from bid managers about what they can expect and the challenges that they face. So with the final question, I really want to turn to you, Helen, as to what makes Systematiq so well placed to assist businesses with these processes.
For SMEs that are looking to come into the defence industry, I particularly like the bids to the Defence Innovation Hub. It's like a mini capsule of everything that's required for an ASDEFCON bid, everything from understanding defence, having a sponsor within defence that will assist you with positioning and making sure that you're able to meet the right needs, right through to the project delivery requirements, which are some of which are unique to defence and the defence environment. So what I really love about working with the Systematiq people and the Systematiq team is the absolute commitment to get the job done. We've often found ourselves in the midst of a job and required skills that hadn't been identified for various reasons up front. And Systematiq as a business has always been there to support our clients and to provide the resources that are required to get not just a compliant bid on time, but to have a successful bid go into the box on time.
Well, great, thanks for that. And Bryden, do you care to provide any thoughts as yourself as Director of Business Development on that same question? I mean, in your opinion, what makes Systematiq so well placed to assist these organisations with these ASDEFCON proposals?
Yeah, thanks, Jordan. Helen's talked a bit about the passion we bring as bids and proposals people. I think one thing that I'd say what Systematiq can do for a lot of organisations is bring together both the experience and expertise in bidding on ASDEFCON, but we have a range of capabilities that help with also making an argument compelling. We bring together graphic artists and marketers who work together with copywriters in order to develop not just a technical response, but something that is compelling to the client and resonates to them. I think Helen hit on a little bit the fact that we have people who've got experience in defence also helps make sure that we use the right language to the Commonwealth and that the people we are able to talk to, we understand the kind of language they want to use. I think the final thing I'd sort of make is Pete highlighted too that one of the things that makes that a common mistake made is not having someone dedicated to lead the bid. What we've tried to do is make sure that the way we structure our service offerings is to make sure we can sell someone into an organisation who can actually take over that role and help them learn through the process as well.
Great. Well, thank you very much, everyone. That's all we have time for in today's podcast. I want to thank all of our guests here from Systematiq in joining me for this very first podcast. It's been much appreciated, and thank you very much for your time.